as we went to commercial. Sophie Cunningham hit the floor hard. And
Sophie Cunningham, oh man, I got to tell you, this victory, it came with a big price.
Everything changed for the Indiana Fever when Sophie Cunningham collapsed, clutching her knee. An altercation with Bria Hartley has provoked indignation, prompted concerns over safety, and even prompted legal discussion. Sophie became the spark when Caitlin Clark was absent. She is now the objective. Let's dissect everything. You could hear the entire crowd gasp as Bria Hartley struck Sophie Cunningham's knee. Sophie struggled to stand up before collapsing once more while clutching her right leg in obvious anguish. Colleagues hurried over. The trainers ran to the ground. Suddenly, what seemed like a routine drive became a pivotal point in the season. Hartley is pressured to her right side if you pay great attention to the play. She crashes directly against Sophie's legs, though, rather than slipping away. That's the reason this is so annoying.
Cunningham was flat out targeted by a dirty player.
I'd say there's a near 0% chance Sophie Cunningham plays again this year.
Sophie was in a predicament. She didn't even anticipate impact at that angle, and she was defending appropriately on balance. Fans instantly feared the worst: an ACL, an MCL, or something equally devastating when her knee gave way. Sophie isn't a player who stays down, and that's the problem. Among the most formidable opponents on the roster is this one. You can tell it's bad when she cries and loses the ability to bear weight on that leg. Sophie wasn't just lifted off the ground in that crash. It completely destroyed the Fever's impetus. Sophie's family's response as she was led to the locker room perfectly captured the emotions of many Fever supporters. Anger. They were incensed over what transpired and how it was handled by officials. They saw this as more than simply a chance encounter. This was utterly avoidable, risky, and careless. And can you really blame them? Earlier in the game, Sophie had already been being jostled. Nothing was called when she was struck in the head and fell down, sending the ball flying to the ground. The referees once more swallowed their whistles when this collision occurred. Imagine witnessing your sister, your daughter, risk her life each night only to be brought out on a play like that with no consequences. For a player to sustain injuries during natural play is one thing. Basketball contact does occur. However, it goes too far when Sophie collapses in pain and a player with a reputation like Bria Hartley storms in. This wasn't just an accident for her family. It was the final straw. Given how worrisome Sophie's damage mechanism is, let's discuss the medical aspect of this. Doctors refer to Bria Hartley's fall as a VGUS load. Basically, the knee is being forced inward by external force.
What?
Most likely going to do, we can't exactly see her foot position down here, but I think what this is causing is a forced valgus load from the outside of Cunningham's knee, pushing it inward. If we back this up a little bit, initially you can see how her right foot is pointed forward, and so any sort of impact is going to cause a hyperextension, pushing the knee backwards. But then as the play continues here, it looks like she initially picks up that right foot. We can see it start to move a little bit. That's going to start to rotate her body so that now when the Connecticut player comes in and lands on her, the force is coming in from the outside of the knee and pushing it inward. What this is going to do is potentially cause a number of injuries to the inner medial side of Cunningham's knee from this forced external valgus load pushing the knee inward.
3 distinct issues, all of which are dangerous, can result from that kind of stress. The ACL comes first. The ligament that supports the joint may break when that inward force and hyperextension combine. Numerous players have lost entire seasons as a result of that. The MCL comes in second. When the joint collapses inward, the ligament on the inside of the knee is susceptible to overstretching or tearing. Third, a patella dislocation, possibly the most frightening thing for Sophie right now. The kneecap virtually pops out of its groove at that point.
A patella dislocation or a kneecap dislocation. Similar mechanism, whenever the knee is valgusly forced inward, the patella has a tendency in its groove to, obviously it wants to stay nice and neutral in its groove, but when patella dislocations, kneecap dislocations happen, it's usually because the patella comes to the outside, the lateral side of the trochlea, from a combination of the knee being pushed inward. And that's another thing, especially with the way that Cunningham reacts with keeping her knee up in this flexed position. This is something that we see people do whenever they've had a patella instability event, because this is the position that is going to be most comfortable initially, because they can't straighten their knee out because that kneecap is translated on the lateral side of the joint.
This was a plausible scenario based on the way she was holding onto her leg and maintaining its bend. Players don't typically occupy the role until there is a major issue. Additionally, her body turned awkwardly shortly prior to impact, which increases the likelihood of all three of those dangers. This makes it more than just a difficult fall. That play's mechanics are precisely the kind that bring seasons to a close. This incident wasn't limited to the courtroom. According to reports, Sophie Cunningham's family is getting ready to sue the WNBA and Bria Hartley.
Why?
Because they believe the league has not done enough to safeguard its athletes. Think about it. Bria Hartley wrote a song, History of Careless Plays. However, the league has permitted her to carry on without facing harsh penalties. Sophie's injury could have a huge financial impact if it ends the season. All of it is relevant, including missed pay chances, lost endorsements, and even job longevity. Bringing legal action conveys a message. The family will not tolerate this. In all honesty, it highlights a larger issue. Isn't it carelessness on the part of the league to encourage physical play as entertainment while failing to enforce regulations to protect players? Yes, from the standpoint of the family. This case might turn out to be a turning point for player safety in the WNBA, compelling the league's leadership to address the roughhousing culture that has already cost the league several stars this season. Let's now discuss Bria Hartley's reputation, the unspoken issue. We have already witnessed her engaging in risky plays. Watch Angel Reese being hauled out of the air by her ponytail. Skyla Diggins should be body-checked rather than playing pure defense. Check out Rebecca Allen being thrown to the ground and then scratched. How much of the benefit of the doubt can we actually provide her now? Not at all. Every new occurrence is assessed in the context of a player's past dubious actions. Hartley supporters may claim she didn't intend it, but the recording doesn't lie. Hartley went directly into her knee even though she was standing straight and defended herself appropriately. That's reckless, not just awkward. And the best term I can use in this situation is reckless. The league must now determine whether to keep allowing this type of play to characterize its product since she has earned the reputation. Stephanie White, the coach of the Indiana Fever, had one of the most moving remarks following Sophie's death.
I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you too. I'm so proud of you guys. I know that sometimes it sounds like just a word when we talk about being resilient, but it's not, man. It's how we live. Yep. It's how y'all live, and it's a tribute to you. It's a tribute to your connectedness, your togetherness, your toughness, your mindset. You never give up gritty attitudes. Like, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. And
she was clearly startled and on the verge of tears as she realized how terrible this loss was. Consider it. White has already had to contend with injuries to Sydney Colson, Ari McDonald, Caitlin Clark, and others. This group was held together by Sophie Cunningham. She inspired everyone with her tenacity, vigor, and leadership. It's not only about one player when that is removed. It concerns the spirit of the entire team. Although coaches are expected to maintain their composure, occasionally the harsh realities get to them. White was aware of Sophie's significance to this roster. She understood the significance of her presence to Clark, who at last had a comrade who was prepared to battle beside her. It's devastating to lose that. You could see from White's response how important Sophie was outside of the box school. This is the harsh reality. The instant Caitlin Clark was taken down, Sophie Cunningham was singled out. Sophie was the Fever's emotional anchor and the WNBA's second most anticipated player, while Clark was out. She was a fan favorite because she was making shots, using fire to protect, and confronting opponents. She became a marked player. Nevertheless, opponents were aware that you could agitate the Fever if you could agitate Sophie. Additionally, when players witness her growing popularity, her enthusiasm electrifying crowds, and her courageous leadership, envy sets in, making her a target for more contact. In Clark's absence, Sophie had taken on the role of team spokesperson, and there was risk associated with that attention. Consider it. Since Clark went down, she had been scoring in double figures on average, had one of the strongest defensive ratings on the team, and had emerged as the team's vocal leader. Other teams were aware that the Fever's rhythm would break if they could annoy Sophie. She was under constant strain because of this. To be honest, supporters embraced her roughness, which only made opponents more envious. This has nothing to do with paranoia. It has to do with reality. The league has often demonstrated that elite players are singled out. Sophie was unfortunate to be next in line and had to pay the price for bravely and flamingly carrying the spotlight. The illness has made this season feel cursed. Due to her groin injury, Caitlin Clark has missed the majority of the year. After getting paid, Dana Bonner left in the middle of the season. Ari McDonald suffered a foot fracture. Sydney Coulson suffered an ACL tear. Sophie Cunningham may now miss the entire year. How can a team make it through that? The depth has vanished. There has been constant rearranging of lineups. There was never any opportunity for chemistry to grow. Throughout it all, Stephanie White has had to improvise rotations while witnessing the disintegration of her roster's core. Given that Sophie was by far the best midseason recruit, her injury is particularly devastating. Her aggressiveness, shot-making, and defense provided the equilibrium of Fever. The margin of error decreases considerably more in her absence. It has become a survival test instead of a breakout season. To be honest, it's difficult to see how this bunch manages to get out. There is more than one team involved in Sophie Cunningham's situation. It concerns the WNBA as a whole. The league has embraced the notion that rough play is a mark of respect. But at what price? Instead of watching rugby or the UFC, many tune in to watch hoops. But the talent pool is being depleted by an injury pandemic brought on by the frequent roughhousing, unregulated fouls, and risky collisions. The product suffers night after night when top players like Clark and Sophie are absent. Both the league's future and the fans are harmed. Seeing stars is the foundation of attendance. When well-known athletes play, television ratings rise, and when those players stay healthy, merchandise sales soar. The impact of the league losing a star player extends well beyond the court. The WNBA cannot continue to embrace violence while disregarding the repercussions. Leadership must enforce rules that put health before spectacle, and officials must intervene with constant whistles. If not, the injuries will mount and the league's reputation would deteriorate over time. Sophie's injury should be the last straw, not just another storyline lost in the shuffle. The safety of the sportsmen who are the backbone of the league is at stake here. Will anyone pay attention, or will the leadership continue to ignore the situation until the next big star falls? What comes next, then? The medical findings come first. Whether Sophie Cunningham's season is officially ended is something that everyone is anticipating. The complaint comes in second. If her family takes action, the league may be forced to examine its officiating practices in light of its physical play culture. Third, the survival of the Fever. Can this team even be competitive with Sophie possibly out and Clark already sidelined, or is a losing season in our future? The WNBA must, above all, choose the type of league it wishes to be. Do you want athletes to thrive on their abilities, or do you want them to hobble off the field as a result of careless players getting away with it? Sophie Cunningham had more than one injury. She revealed the largest issue facing the league. And how many more stars will be lost until that issue is resolved?